What is up, Jazz Memes, man? It is a real pleasure to be here with y'all, and I just want to talk to you guys about one of my favorite sounds and my approach to it, and that is the Lydian sound, also known as the major sharp 11 sound, however you want to call it. Alright, so my approach to this sound is actually very much like a pianist. I am a tenor saxophone player, so for all you horn players, whenever you see that major chord, major sharp 11, it's probably like, oh man, that's a lot. But I'm gonna tell you guys how I look at the chord and how I love this sound so much. Cats like Woody Shaw, cats like Joe Henderson, tunes like Inner Urge, in case you haven't heard, they really use this sound, and I just grew this liking for the sound so much that I started trying to check out and see what kind of patterns and different things I could do over it. So my approach to it and how I like to water down this chord is, you know, the Lydian sound is basically a major sound with a sharp 11 or a sharp 4. So the fourth degree, when we say 4, is the fourth degree of the major scale. So, which is normally a C, now is a C sharp, right? So, right? But how I like to approach this is like a pianist, like I said. So when you see a chord like that, you kind of want to get all the juicy notes, all the colorful notes, so that you can really bring out that sound, right? So I like to stack the triads, and what I learned is that the triad of the 1, which is your G triad, and I'm talking about major triad here, right, is in your bass key. But then if you go to the second degree of the scale, which is the A, right? But what's really cool is when you combine those two triads, it gives you all the juicy notes. So in the G, you got the 1, the B is the 3, the D is the 5, but then you put the A there from, of course, second degree. That gives you the 9. That gives you the sharp 11, which is that juicy note, that important note. And then that E gives you the 13. So now you're rocking with all the notes that make up this sound and what make it really cool. So when you stack the triads, it sounds like this. Right? So now imagine we're playing it with the actual chord and see what it actually sounds like, all right? Right? Isn't that like solid? Like you can actually hear all the notes in the chord, and it feels like you're approaching this sound like a pianist. Now, how can you mix this up and start having fun with it, right? So there is this concept called triad pairs that Joe Henderson, Woody Shaw, all these cats were using, and it's such a hip thing to use, and it really outlines the chord and makes you feel all the colors in it, all right? So what you do is, if you're gonna play your G major triad, right? So, right? And then once you get to that third note or that 5, then you go to the next available note of the triad of the 2. So you're at D, so what's the next available note in A? C sharp, E, it's gonna be the E, right? So you go up. And once you get that E, then you go back down. So, right? So, and then what's the next available note? It's gonna be the B from the G triad. Then you find that A again. You go back down. So basically all you're doing is playing the triad 1 up, 1 down. So you play it up, you find the next available note, and then you come back down. I'll show you what that sounds like. Right? And I'll show you what that sounds like over the chord, so you can see how it fits in with that major 7 sharp 11 sound. Check it out. It's a vibe, isn't it? So now you're starting to get there, and that's kind of like the basic thing. Again, you don't have to necessarily start from the one, because all you're doing is inverting these triads so that they give you that crazy sound, that sharp 11 vibe. So you could always start, and me, I like to start from the lowest note on the horn possible. So the lowest note in this case, since we're in G major 7 sharp 11, would be the B. So here's how it'd sound if you started from the B. Check this out. Now it's almost not sounding like triads anymore. It's starting to really sound like something else. Like it's starting to sound like you're making melodies or creating some real shapes over this sound, and it doesn't sound as stale. It doesn't even sound like triads as much, To the common ear, you'd sound like, man, what is that he's doing? And it's really cool. So the next step you would take with this is adding the fourth note, which is what you heard me doing in the beginning. So what happens there is it's kind of like you start adding a fourth note to the triad. So you basically repeat the bottom note, right? So this is what that sounds like. Right? Like G, B, D, G, right? Then you get the next available note and you come back down. So now you're just doing 4 up and 4 down. So it sounds like this. And now you're really starting to expand the sound. Let me show you what that sounds like with the chord. And it's so cool. And it's so cool when you can apply this in context. A lot of times, cats like to end tunes with that Lydian or that sharp 11 vibe and then resolve it. And when that happens, you can kind of just use these patterns and use these palettes of sound to really outline the sharp 11 sound, all right? So that's my approach to it. Whenever I'm looking at a sharp 11, I'm always thinking about how I can stack these two triads on top of each other, and it simplifies the way I look at that whole sound in general, and it allows me to really navigate it in a way that makes me happy, and the cats in the band always feel really good about the vibe that we have going on and how we outline the changes and color it. So I'll just show you guys a little bit about just exploring over it. I made this kind of vamp over this G major sharp 11 in concert F major sharp 11. I made it on my keys. So if you want to practice this, maybe you could just get like a MIDI board or something, just stack 2 triads together, stack them on top of each other and practice in all keys. And you will start messing around and getting real comfortable, and it'll teach you a lot. So this is how I do it. I just sit around and I'll mess around with the sound. So I'll show you what that's kind of like, right? And that's that Lydian sharp 11 sound. Such a sweet sound in my ears. I think it's like the major chord, like just boosted to its maximum. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions about this sound. My information on Claudens Sax on all platforms, or the CL Experience. So please feel free to hit me up. I'm always open. And yeah, that's my approach to the Lydian sound.